So there was this video a while back where Adam Duff, who, while gorgeous and talented, isn't my real dad, and he put his foot down and said something along the lines of how art styles represent your essence as an artist. Your art style is you, basically, and taking that essence is basically identity theft, which is illegal. You can't see it, but I'm throwing my arm over my forehead for maximum effect. Did I mention how pretty this guy is? Tall, muscular, and he knows how to draw. I mean, if I had a type, he would be it. Now, the last time I brought this up, I have this really close friend who said, if you're making a hard point, it would be nice if you weren't getting all weak-kneed and drooly over the guy, but I can't help it. Objectifying this poor man is the only thing that keeps his content watchable for me because, oh dear God, he's fantastically stupid. When someone makes a bad point, I focus on the positives. In this case, he's totes gorge. I'm sorry, it's a fact. Anyway, moving on, the essence of a piece really got me thinking, what exactly is an art style? And how much of it can be learned by an algorithm and recreated? In general and broadly speaking, I think artists are the wrong people to ask. An artist would tell you that an art style is their unique fingerprint, the culmination of their lived experiences and memories, the way they see the world, and yes, even a window into their very soul. I feel like I need some jazz behind me for this one. Anyway, I feel like it's valid to feel that way about it. And I think all artists feel to a greater or lesser extent that they're putting a piece of themselves into their work. But the real question is, at least when we're applying it to machine learning algorithms, and in particular diffusion models, how much of that can really be replicated by a machine to begin with? There's this one traditional artist friend I have. He considers himself sort of a moderate on the AI discussion, but he leans into the no AI camp from time to time. He pressed me about this, asking me hard questions about whether or not a machine could perfectly replicate his art. And honestly, the best answer I could give him was, sort of. See, as mystifying as this technology is, and with the incredible things you can do with tools like Stable Diffusion and Midjourney, the fact of the matter is that no AI can steal your essence like a blood-sucking vampire, or understand your experiences and remember your memories. A machine couldn't tell you the way you see the world or even understand that. That's not what it's for. The machine has, at best, a clinical understanding of your art vocabulary. And what I mean is that your motifs, certain abstract concepts about your composition, maybe your blocking, perspectives, the occasional asset or line, and, all of that stuff that's relative to your art and where you create it. And then there's a bunch of, photo references that the machine may or may not use depending on what you're creating. The way it calculates this varies by algorithm. Euler A is the most common algorithm used in Stable Diffusion, and it's the default in Automatic 1111. DPM is the default in Atomic, and the list goes on. Euler is another algorithm that you could use to do this. But broadly speaking, the system works on a theory of nearest point to determine what an art style looks like. So, two artists from the same period with the same influences, you dial one of them in, and you could well get elements of the other artist's art. It's like how the system constantly mixes up Gil Elvgren and Rolf Armstrong. Even though the two types of art they do are very different. An artist would point to the differences between these two in content and composition. Yes, both were pinup artists, but Rolf had more of a fine art bent. He painted these expressive paintings of women in fine clothing sitting on beds or looking at the camera longingly, And Gil was much sillier, but also did some serious stuff. He also did a lot of commercial pop art, iconic Coca-Cola posters, things like that. But where the machine sees them as similar is in the aesthetics of the period. Pink, rosy cheeks, and adherence to classical realism, similar penwork, and things like hair and lips, as well as even so much as using a couple of the same models who were posing everywhere at the time. And since, for some reason, it's important that people point out that the machine learning algorithms that diffusion models use are not cognitive, so these are all the details that the machine could possibly understand on any meaningful level. So it's going to see similarities here that human beings wouldn't, and it's going to make the incorrect judgment call that these two art styles are similar enough that they need to be categorized the same way in that unknowable superbrain that runs on your MacBook. What's more, you can pull them up and make anything you want by themselves or in any combination with any other style in the system. But since synthesis art and creativity don't exist in a vacuum, actual forgery of specific pieces, or even creating something that convincingly uses the same art style that you're expecting in a predictable way, I'm just going to call that challenging. Nobody can convincingly recreate any art style in any medium just by entering in a couple of keystrokes. And this is proofed all over the place. Have you ever wondered why people talk about AI aesthetics and why these pieces look nothing like anything anybody's ever seen in the larger art world in the last, 100 years or so? If all AI did was somehow magically recreate or leech off of existing art styles by living artists, wouldn't it make sense that the things you're getting out of AI look more like the references they're using? And yet, we're living in a world where they don't. Not at all. We're living in a world where people are coming up with new words to describe crazy new aesthetics that are coming out of AI. And if you're going to believe people about references and the limitations of AI, then those aesthetics shouldn't exist at all. The way to think about all of it in terms that make sense would be to talk about motifs and tropes and inspirations. Cumulatively, what you're looking at is less of copying and less of art style recreation and more of borrowing from artistic vocabularies. But that's the thing about vocabularies, you know? You and I know how to use the same words, and even how to string them together into a sentence, or a video like this, or a novel. But you and I are different people, with different experiences and different memories. We might see the world very, very differently. Even if you've created a new and brilliant word for expressing the depth of light and how it affects you deep in your soul, I can use that word and express it through the lens of my own memories and experience without losing my voice. Vocabulary can be used with different accents and mannerisms in different orders and different ways by different people to say and do very different things, whether the person who invented the terminology intended for it to be used that way or not. And I really think that's what makes AI that much more exciting. My name is Lynn Cole. I am a new media artist who uses machine learning in the creative process. And despite all the nerdy, high-minded stuff, I'm really just here to make pretties. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your respectful comments to feed the great and terrible machine god that is the YouTube algorithm. It's the real deal, but it just wants your clicks, not your livestock. Anyway, I shall have more fun AI-focused content soon, and I want to tell you to flex those muscles, be creative, make those things, no matter how you feel about the AI conversation. Creativity is power, my babies, and I want you to be inspired. So go, do your thing. I believe in you. See you soon.